All right, I know people are probably don't know what in the heck is going on. I said I thought Baker did the smartest thing he's ever done, which he made himself vulnerable, and he sent a message to the league, hey, man, you sign me, I go all in, even if my surrounding situation's bad. He didn't go snarky. He didn't have to win the press conference. For the first time in his life, he was vulnerable, and I thought it was brilliant. Your takeaway, what did you make of his post last night?
Well, I think it might be, listen, you've swayed me on how smart it was. I would rank it the second smartest thing he's ever done. I think the smartest was sitting on your couch and telling you to stick it. I thought that was the smartest, but this is definitely top two. I didn't have that immediate read initially. I thought this was him kind of breaking up with the Browns before they could break up with him, but you might have swayed me on it. My takeaway was a little different in this regard, Colin. I think Baker is a good cautionary tale that some of the old adages are flatly wrong. And we've talked about this before, but I want to hammer it. How many times have you heard people talk about the glory associated with betting on yourself? Well, yeah, sometimes. And sometimes you bet on yourself and you don't take whatever contract offer Cleveland offered you after you delivered them to the playoffs and a playoff win, and you crap out when you bet on yourself. And another old adage, rub some dirt on it. Playing through pain is part of professional sports. Colin, when Baker got his shoulder fully separated, labrum, the whole nine, it was week 6. Up to that point in the season, he had a passer rating in the 90s.
Yeah.
He had a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Yes, the Browns were 3-3, but those 3 losses were a high-scoring game to Mahomes, a 47-42 game to Justin Herbert, and a loss to the Cardinals. They were on track. They were fine. He then, the rest of the way, was terrible. His numbers were awful. The team was awful. And he was hurt. I'm curious your opinion on this. If he had, after that week 6 game, gotten the shoulder surgery that he got this offseason and didn't play the rest of the way, do you think the Browns are shopping him?
Nope.
Because I don't.
Nope.
It's he took us to the playoffs, he had a winning record, and then he got hurt. So, a lot of those things that we give guys a lot of credit for doing, Colin, sometimes it blows up on you. And I think Baker was trying to do the right thing, and it blew up on him. And now, he's somewhat of a man without a country at the moment. Except for you, somehow. Somehow he's lost everyone but gained Colin Cowherd. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I had him overvalued initially. I was right on that. Maybe I'm 1 for 1 or 1 for 2. We'll see. So, Deshaun Watson to Cleveland. I contend if I was Deshaun Watson, I would choose Atlanta. I think it's the Hollywood of the South. It's the most dynamic economy. Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines, good owner, offensive coach, superstar potentially at tight end. I would choose Atlanta. But Cleveland's the best offensive line of all these teams that want him. And Deshaun's been running for his life, his entire NFL career. He would inherit a top 5 offensive line. As a quarterback, that's got a tremendous value to me. I want to play longer. So what do you make of Deshaun Watson, Cleveland, just from that aspect? Do you think it works? The fit?
Yeah, from that aspect, from the pure football aspect with Deshaun, if we're talking about where he should want to go as opposed to whether or not teams should want to be in the Deshaun Watson business, I think Atlanta is a far better choice than Cleveland. I think there's the simplicity of the NFC is wide open.
Yes.
And does not have great young quarterbacks. The great young quarterback in the NFC, I guess, is Kyler. I'm not sure he's great. Dak's not quite so young anymore. Stafford's, into his mid-30s. Rodgers is obviously late 30s, and Brady's in his mid-40s. So I think the NFC there, I think that specific division, the NFC South, the Panthers don't seem to have a real plan. The Saints are going to be in the salary cap hell they built themselves trying to win another one with Breeze for the next couple years. And we'll see about Brady and the Bucs, because maybe I'm the last one, and maybe we'll get to this. I'm still not convinced he's playing for the Bucs this year. I know he's going to play.
Yeah.
But the NFC South feels wide open. The AFC North feels impossible.
It does.
If the worst team is Pittsburgh, well, they never have a losing record. Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl. Baltimore, everyone forgets, was 8-3 last. They were the 1 seed after Week 11 last year.
Yep.
And then it all fell apart. I would want... And even if you get through the division, it's hey, who do we have left? Oh, that's Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and maybe Russell Wilson and Justin Herbert. if you can get out of the AFC, if you're Deshaun Watson, I would get out of the AFC. And Atlanta is a great city. And so set the city stuff aside. For all those reasons, I totally agree.
Tom Brady returns to the Bucs, or does he? You have skepticism here.
Well, hold on. Before I even get to my skepticism, I want to pull back the curtain for a moment.
Yeah.
A few things. You might get mad at me, but a relationship is solid enough I can deal with it.
Okay.
So I feel like you duped me, my friend.
Why?
Because there was a few years ago, this clip exists on the internet. It makes you stroke your chin and say, It's during Colin Cowherd, or during Tom Brady's last year with the Patriots, mid-season. Colin's doing one of his famous rants. And he says, Bucs quarterback Tom Brady. And then he goes and corrects it. It's like, at the time, it's like, oh, that's a weird slip up. And then it's like, did Colin Cowherd know something ahead of anybody else? And on Sunday, you and I were doing a podcast together.
Yeah.
And I said to you, I'm like, I don't think you're convinced Brady's actually retired. And you got that little Cheshire cat grin on your face. You're like, no, I think 95%. Maybe it's some. So I'm asking you, and then I'll answer your question. Did you know he was coming back? Did you have someone whisper in your ear, Brady's coming back?
Well, I mentioned on our podcast the Niners, which is why it's interesting. Well, Kyle Shanahan did not go to the Combine, and Tom was in the Bay Area that week. And they've already made a run at Tom. So I think they talked. I'm not saying I knew.
Okay.
It's out there.
Right, yeah. You're not saying you're the guy who went to Vegas and made the giant Bucs Super Bowl futures bets that's now being investigated.
No, I'm not.
I get that. I understand that wasn't you. I know. Okay, so there's that. All right, now to my point. Here's when I'll believe Tom Brady is going to play for the Bucs this year. Because listen, he's clearly going to play. But can we all agree this retirement made no sense? Can we all agree that there is something amiss here?
Yeah, a little bit.
That he walked away via Instagram?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Listen, bottom line, literally, he walked away from a guaranteed division title. Literally, it's the worst division in football. That part, I was like, I would just come back, win the division title, pile up. It's like he was almost an MVP.
None of it made sense. And the idea of, well, it's because my wife wanted me to do it. Colin, we're both married. We both do things at times, I know, that annoy our wives. You know what annoys our wives more than us doing those things? Us telling her, I'm done doing that thing, and 2 weeks later, we're back doing it. That's the worst. So this idea of, Giselle wants me to quit playing football, so I'll stop for 5.5 weeks of the offseason, then go back, that'll make her happy. That never made sense. Here's what did make sense. That he wanted to check off the one box he hasn't checked off. Play for my hometown team. Oh, and I get to replace Jimmy Garoppolo, the guy who was going to replace me in New England. All the better. And I think San Francisco's a better team than Tampa. All that makes sense. Yet he comes back after 40 days and says he's in with the Bucs. So to finish the point, I will believe Tom Brady is playing for the Bucs next season if and when Rob Gronkowski re-signs with them. Because Gronk hasn't retired and Gronk hasn't played anywhere. And I find it very interesting that Gronk is just floating out there. That Gronk's just a free agent. Because here's what I know. Gronk ain't playing for Tampa without Tom. So I think it will all usual suspect style snap into focus about what the retirement was about if Tom goes somewhere else. If he just plays week 1 for Tampa next year, then someone's going to have to explain to me what the whole I'm retired via Instagram and days after retirement when Jim Gray's talking to me about it, I'm like, well, never say never. It's like, what, you retired yesterday, buddy. None of it made sense. So I don't get it, my friend.
No, it's interesting. I will say this. Your point on I'm retired 5 weeks later, it's almost like he and Giselle have a plan. There's a plan here in place. She knows it. Yeah, no, it's a very good point, right? It's the only thing that frustrates her more than not retiring is doing what he just did.
That's what I'm saying. My wife, for our whole relationship, has been on my head about smoking those terrible $1 cigars you see me smoke, the
terrible.
Black and Milds.
Awful.
You know what annoys her way more than me doing it? The half dozen times I've come to her, honey, New Year's resolution. honey, anniversary present. Honey, I'm quitting smoking Black & Milds. And 3 weeks later, she sees me shivering outside, hiding, smoking a Black & Mild. You said you quit. Like that annoys people more than just doing the thing they don't like. So I don't buy it. I just don't buy it.
Nick Wright, what a pleasure. He's got a new podcast, What's Right, Nick Wright. It's great. It's Nick. It's his fam. It's funny. FS1 mornings as well. Good seeing you, my friend. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.